I want to say a special thank you to Anupa Nanakan and Christabel Joseph for being here with us. Um, Known them for a long time. Um, but they're here because of something else. This is, when COVID hit, a group was formed of people, Jesus followers across Bangalore, to be helpful. And suddenly I find so much of Anupa, so much of Christabel on that group, just frantically helping people. And I just want to like bring focus and attention to that and thank them for being here with us today. So I'm not going to say much right now, but I'm just going to hand it over to them. Christabel, Anupa, in whichever order you prefer, maybe Christabel first and then Anupa. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do normally?
Um, Hi everyone. I'm a mother of three. That's my main job. I'm a journalist. I write a column on parenting normally. I also teach at Acts Academy, a theological college. My job, my aim is to bring underprivileged students up to speed with what their secular mates are doing. So I wrote and teach a wellness course, a course on 21st century life skills, and other holistic ministry courses, just so that their education is on par with other children their age who are not, I mean, outside of the Christian bubble. My family commitment, Ajit, Arpit, you want me to say that?
If you want to, of course.
Okay, let Anupa go and I'll come back.
Right.
Hi everyone, I'm Anupa and I have a husband and three children. And I'd also like to add that I have four dogs and two cats because they're a very much a part of the commitments and everything that goes on in our home. And I'm a teacher by profession. Um, I've been Montessori trained and and done some special ed as well. Right now, I'm on the admin side, and we manage a few schools. And these schools cater to mostly kids from the lower income groups. So that's what I do as as a profession. Yes, Christabel, you can carry on with your commitments.
It's okay. I'll ask you more about that
Oh.
as we go along. So just again for a background to everyone, the reason Anupa and Christabel are here with us today is because they've been doing some work to respond to the situation that we are in. Um, and I just, if again, let me go back to Christabel and ask you, what is it? How did you end up doing what you're doing as a COVID relief volunteer? And what are you doing in the role that you are? And you can combine that with how do you balance that with all you do with for your family and other commitments.
Um, I honestly can't remember how I got on the team. I can't remember. There are many things I can't remember right now because so much is happening. But what I do, I'm on the validation team, so I validate requests for beds, which means there are many levels. But what I do is I make calls to people who are the attenders of patients and have a conversation with them. I'm supposed to check if all the details in that hospital form have been filled. Um, but what I find myself doing is changing the tone of my voice, trying to calm them down, encouraging them, try, assessing what needs escalation, what can be handled at home, how can I save the beds team, which is the next team, from too much pressure. I identify small leaks and plugs and fix it so that it doesn't affect the whole system. I've had some amazing encounters with so many people. There's also um, an updation of sheets on Google Sheets that happens, and Anupa helps me with that. That's all in my head.
Sure.
To my family, I just sit at the computer all day, make calls, occasionally get up, walk to the toilet, walk up and down with the phone, speaking loudly. And by the end of the day, I'm grumpy and anxious.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Christopher. Really appreciate that. Anupa, would you share about yourself? How did you end up doing this, and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. I joined last year at the beginning of this whole pandemic. I responded to an appeal that was put on our church group to join the group. So I joined, and somehow one thing led to another, and I got involved in recruiting volunteers. So from last year, that has been my job, to recruit volunteers. This year somehow it has become a little more organized, and there are many teams, and so I do exactly what Christabel just described. I'm part of that team. I also continue to recruit volunteers for the team that calls 108 and 1912, that is to register the cases, and and volunteers um, for our team as well, and volunteers for the food, and so I'm just still kind of the volunteer recruiter.
Thank you for that, Anupa and Christabel. Let me ask you. You already began to talk a little bit about that, Christabel. How has life changed for you after you started doing this? Why are you doing this? Can you share with us, and can you share some experiences?
Um, Life has changed completely. It's come to a standstill in terms of what I do at home. Um, I'm very organized and I have several things that I do. But in the last week, everything has been very hectic. So it's come to a standstill. The things that I'd like to see in place, um, much is pending at home that I used to handle. My husband fixes dinner nowadays when needed. But I'm finding immense satisfaction in bringing skills that I didn't even know that I had into this. Um, Skills I'm told I have. Just when I thought I was growing old and forgetting stuff, I'm now able to recall names, numbers, cases, ages, scenarios. It's so thrilling, and I don't need magnesium tablets after all. Um, that's the nice part. On the sad part, I've started having nightmares about my children growing old, eating junk food, losing contact with me. And in my dreams, I'm standing there saying, when did all this happen? How did I miss all this? So clearly, it's my inner fears manifesting in my dreams. I hope this crisis ends soon and that we get more volunteers so that I can cut back a little. Um, yeah.
Thank you, Christabel. Anupa,
But what am I answering again? Sorry.
uh, what has changed for you, and why do you do this? Why are you doing this? And
Oh.
yeah,
What has changed, I think, is that I'm in front of my laptop more, and getting better at spreadsheets, because that's been my job for the past few weeks. And yes, it has become stressful because also with the pandemic, I mean, with this new lockdown, um, with maids not coming in, extra help with helping my mom and dad, both Christabel and I do that, and feeding the animals, and just trying to keep to the schedule. But of course, a very supportive family. And yes, like Christabel mentioned, my husband and son cooked dinner last night. Everyone's been helping out a lot. Why am I doing this? I haven't actually thought about it. I just got into it, and I'm doing it, and I really enjoy um, doing what I do right now. Um, I think the adrenaline, the excitement is what keeps me going. And at first, I never felt anything, but I think from yesterday, I've started feeling very sad. And every time you hear of somebody passing away, it kind of hits you. So I'm happy that I'm feeling things again. I was worried that I wasn't feeling anything. So.
Wow, that's very insightful to hear, Anupa. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's the Jesus in us that suddenly starts coming alive at a time like this. And it looks like what you're talking about is a little bit of that experience. Let me go back to Christabel and say, Christabel, do you want to share some experiences? I know your husband was talking to me offline, talking about pockets of joy. Would you like to share with us some of that?
Um, in all the confusion, in all the, I think, trauma, even, because there are days when I'm scared to look at my phone. Um, the, there are days when I just don't know, like if there'll be 30 pending cases when I go there. And then we're still getting um, to find to find the system in the madness, because it's a whole bunch of us who are just ready to do things. There's no real leader or path or process. So you jump in there and you try and see what you can do best. Um, but in the middle, one of the calls I called to check up on a 90-year-old. And it was so exciting for me because I expected news of death. And her son picked up and said, actually, she's been doing well. And her oxygen was 50 in my case card. And he said her oxygen is now 90. And his voice, I thought everybody needs a person like this in their life when they have COVID. He was so calm, he was so encouraging. And he said, her oxygen is now 90. So you can actually give that bed to somebody else. I think she's okay. And in a time when nobody's letting go of beds and people are sitting in autos hooked up to oxygen, calling nurses and saying, has that person died? Can I come and take the bed? At a time like this, for someone to give up a bed was huge. Um, then there were three men on one day who cried, and I'm just supposed to call and get details, but they're just weeping, and I can't cut the call or tell them what I'm there for. And they're apologizing and saying, I'm sorry, ma'am, I know I'm not supposed to tell you this. And I find myself saying, it's okay, you have to tell someone. So, and at the end of listening, hearing them out, it was resolved. I mean, this man's problem was resolved, and he said, my father's hanging on the last string. I don't think I need that bed. I'm already in debt. There's so much going on. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yes. I said, I'm so sorry, but if you don't mind, can I pray with you? That's all I know. He was decidedly Hindu. He said, yes, yes, I need God, pray. So I said a short prayer, and that was thrilling. Um, there was another single girl. I'm thinking of three, and this is the last one, Shilpa. I called, I could only hear whimpering. And I was so scared that this person was stuck at home and had no way of getting to help. And I called again, and I wondered, should I speak another language? And anyway, um, the team got together. I called a few people. We traced back that request. We found that she was a single lady who had no one, zero. She was in her 30s. And I called her friends. They wouldn't give us details. They were trying to stay away from the case. So we kind of connected with them and encouraged them and said, get her office involved, get HR, trying to figure out what their fears were. Are they scared of the bill that's going to come at the end? Apparently, her friends had dumped her in a hospital and fled. So we somehow got them to get involved again, and then they took responsibility for her. It was just alumni, not even her immediate friends. We found Shilpa a bed, which is the most difficult part, and she passed away about 3 days after care. And these kind of things kind of break you because you work so hard to in every tiny step, which is like 100 steps altogether, and then they die. And I try to put it behind me and continue. uh, Days later, I found randomly a text message from friends, saying thank you for your patience, thank you for banding and getting us to do this. And I said, I heard she passed away and it's difficult to go on. And then the friend said, you know what, at least she didn't die alone. I'm taking comfort in the fact that when there was no family or friends or immediate family, we were there. And she died knowing that we tried to help. We gave her a fighting chance. And that was my pocket of joy for that day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm barely able to control tearing up here. Um, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing those stories. Anupa, since you are responsible for telling us how others can help, I'm glad that we had you here. I didn't even know that is what you did. But do you want to share anything and just also tell us how much difference can one person, even one person, make to this effort that you're making, and what do they need to get, what do they need to have to be able to help?
I think what one needs to have is just commitment and be able to allow your life to turn upside down for a little while. Um, I I was I was just wanted to share that when you asked me to share, I remember telling you that I will put you onto someone who's actually doing amazing work, and she'd be the right person for you to talk to. I don't think I'm the one. And then you said that it's people like you. I mean, anybody can talk. So that made me realize that yes, I am contributing. So I think how everyone can contribute is in very, very small ways. I have people texting me to say that I have 1 hour to spare. Is that enough? So then I said, yeah, you join that 108 team, and if a case pops up, you can take that up, because you don't really have to be like this online or anything like that. You can just keep calling. So if you have 1 hour, 2 hours, and a heart that wants to help and has the commitment to see it right till the end, that's all you need.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, Anupa and Christabel. That gave us a little window. Christabel, you want to add something? Yes, go ahead.
I I was thinking about the skills needed when you posted that question, and I remembered something a friend told me. Um, I'm saying this not to dissuade people, but I'm saying this because this is serious stuff, and there's a life at the end of that volunteering work. Um, so I'm just going to say it. A friend told me yesterday there are two kinds of Christian volunteers: those that are there to be seen as kind, encouraging, sweet, and helpful, and those that are actually there to do the work. This is a non Christian friend. Um, this is shamefully true, I'm finding. And I just want to say volunteering work is not about you, your skills, your convenience. In fact, it's not about you at all. It's about the other person and his or her need. You get in there, you do whatever it takes, what needs to be done. God fills the gaps. And that's, to me, that's the only skill you need: commitment, to be present and do whatever's needed. Or you can be the other kind of volunteer. And honestly, nobody will even know what kind you are as long as you appear busy. It's the comfortable, it's the easy thing to do. But I pray that you choose to be the kind that actually does work. It would be great if all of us could combine this and do both. Be nice like Jesus, be kind like Jesus. But as you agree to volunteer, um, please remember that Jesus, while he was being patient and kind and encouraging, he was still completing the actual uncomfortable work that he volunteered for. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, Thank you. I know that you're here and in the middle of stuff, because I'm on the same group that you are on, and I can see stuff that you're doing even while in the middle of the service, doing the uncomfortable, difficult work that needs to be done. So thank you so much. for taking time off in the middle of that to inspire some of us with what we could do to help.